Welcome to the Life of Phys Podcast. I'm your host, Tyson Martin. On this episode, I have my childhood friend, Ben Tobin. Ben is a photographer based in Spokane, Washington, and has made it his mission to capture Spokane and tell the stories of those that society forgot. Now let's get to the show.
Well, I appreciate you having me on this podcast. And my name is Ben Tobin. I'm originally from Portland, Oregon. And I went to college in Seattle for industrial design and spent about 10 years doing that, dabbling in it, and then moved to LA. Started working for 3 bicycle magazines called Road, Decline, and 26. Spent about a year there, made a bunch of friends, learned a lot about publishing and photography and just the whole back end of how the cycling industry works through publishing. And all of a sudden I landed in Spokane, Washington about 19 years ago, and didn't know how long I was going to be here. And now been voluntarily stuck here. And because it keeps providing this challenge for me, and we'll probably get into that through the show. But I'm here, and that's about it. 19 years later.
Wow, 19 years. So just so everybody knows, Ben and I go way back. Man, junior high, I think, 87. We used to skateboard together. He used to love the Pal Peralta Bones freestyle wheels. They were his favorite. And then Ben was a very, very talented BMX rider. So we used to spend a ton of time on our skateboards and our bicycles. And many years later, we found each other back on social media and realized, hey, look, we're both photographers. So Ben, you do a series on Instagram. It's Capturing Spokane, and it's powerful, man. When I look at it, those streets tell stories. What got you interested in moving, say, away from the cycling type of aspect of your photography into capturing real life moments in the streets of Spokane?
So I don't think many people know this part about me, but when I was about 20 years old, I voluntarily checked myself into a mental facility, and I spent 2 weeks there. And some of the most normal people you'll ever find in your life were in there with me. House moms, lawyers, musicians, artists, people with master's degrees. We had this cafeteria that we'd all hang out in, and we'd just shoot the shit. Just learn about people being vulnerable. They had a place to be vulnerable and talk about their lives. And, 2 weeks went through there, and I never forgot it. But that planted a seed. Fast forward, there's this dude on that was on NPR a few years ago. I think his name's John Fields. He started the Feel Good Foundation that Jon Stewart helped back. That John Fields was a first responder on 9/11, and he got hurt. He was a really talented athlete at one time, and his injury disabled him. And I have like a connection with him because he doesn't know this, but having like depression, I've lived with my entire life, is a disability, and it gets in the way of a lot of stuff. And so I've seen people that have put themselves in my shoes, and it's people like him, whether he knows it or not. And I find people like him as not only courageous as someone that was a first responder, but extremely courageous with how he was dealt his injury. And so when he was on NPR a few years ago, which I believe was NPR, that they were asking him about what pulls him, like, what takes him out of character, like, what will make you like lose your shit? And he goes, it's when someone has the ability to help and they don't. I was like, well, fuck yeah. Like, that's fucking impacting. Like, yes. Like, that blew my fucking mind. And because what blew my mind about it is, he goes, hey man, like 5 minutes before I was on this show, he goes, this is insane. He goes, he passed somebody and they needed some money. He gave him like $5. And he goes, that $5 literally like will not save that person's life. It's like a placeholder, like for a split second to help somebody out. You ain't doing shit for that person, but give them $5. Like, they need
True
way
fact.
more than that. Like, that ain't gonna pull them by their bootstraps. But he's like, I had the ability to help at that moment. And he said something else about, like, when he's at 7-Eleven and he's buying his paper and his coffee, whoever is, behind him, he buys their drinks or whatever they have on them. And so this guy, like, was really impactful. And it planted that planted another seed. And then I quit drinking. And when I quit drinking, that guy started coming to mind, because I started noticing that, like, the street photography I wanted to do in replacement of drinking also came with a set of people on the streets that live and breathe those streets. And not only do they live on the streets, there's, like, this morning I walked by a few piles of human crap and animal stuff and whatever. But these people, like, they have to endure this day in and day out. And then what's crazy about what I told you about that story about helping someone out when you can. This morning, like, right before I got here, this dude follows this woman and child in the coffee shop I was just in, hands him $1. And I know this guy is. This guy doesn't have shit. This guy actually sleeps in some of the worst conditions downtown Spokane. And he had a smile. He hands the kid the $1 that he dropped. The mom is, like, kind of taking this all in, and I think she realizes what's going on, and she wants to actually give this guy money to say thank you. She doesn't have any money. Me, I got money on me, and I go to her, like, after the guy's leaving, and just be like, I can't believe that just happened. Like, that guy doesn't have shit. Like, he doesn't have fucking nothing. And so I was like, I got this. And so I ran after him, and I don't know how much money I had. I just gave him whatever I had on me. And he wanted a hug, so I gave him a hug. And I'll tell you what, he smelled good. Dude sleeps on the fucking streets and he smells good. I was like, damn, that was a good hug. And that was a surprise. And when I was walking back, the kid was waiting for me outside, and he goes, hey, sir, like, thank you for doing that. I'm like, and not to, like, try to sound boastful, but that's what we do. Like, so, and the only reason I could do that is because I know that guy's on the streets all the time, because I see him every day when I walk downtown. I just went on a tirade.
Oh man, I love it. I love it. That's what this podcast is about. This podcast is all based on mental health, and I've had my fair share of depression that I deal with on a daily basis. I don't know if you remember, I didn't have the best childhood growing up with my father. So I base this on figuring out ways to help people. That's my whole goal in life, is just to figure out a way to help people. So that's why I reached out to you, back when I was first going to do it a month or so ago. And you're like, man, I'm not ready. And then you sent me that voicemail, and you're just like, dude, I'm ready to talk. And I'll tell you, I was fucking excited. I was really excited to hear your story. I don't forget a lot of the times that we had fun just being with you, riding bikes, trying to learn grinds down handrails, being away from my own issues, because it was my escape. And that's why I took up the skateboarding and everything, is it gave me a way out. Gave me a way out of that reality into my own world. I find that the people that are living on the streets, man, you just treat them like a human being. You have a conversation. They're some of the best people out there. That's just my 2 cents. So we can continue.
if I to back up and talk about that guy that I just highlighted, that guy is one of many, and we'll use that particular fellow was on First Avenue in downtown Spokane. And First Avenue has a handful of characters that they're all taken care of by people that live in that area, and they buy them gloves, they buy them drinks. Some of the coffee shops provide places for these people to sit down, do a crossword, and drink coffee, and just have a place to relax. The thing that is happening is the community keeps taking care of them, and there's a body of people that have the power to actually, like, get federal grant money and, get help with their medical or housing, with addiction. But the problem is we're dealing with in a time right now that I feel like, how do I be nice about this? Well,
just let it go. Don't even have to be nice.
No, I just like, I'll use an example. Like we culturally has cultivated our dislike towards public safety people, our first responders. And, we all went to grade school and junior high and high school and went to college. And these people at one time were people we sat in classrooms. And, I know one of them in Portland, Oregon, one of my childhood best friends. That's one. And he's a good dude. On paper, in person, he's a good dude. So I wouldn't say all cops are fucked. I would never say that. Like, yeah, there's bad apples in all genres, all fucking trades. It does not matter. But there's a small percentage of really good fucking people that are making a difference. They got a family, they got kids, they got dreams, they want to go on camping trips. They get fucking pissed when they have to plug the parking meter, just like you and I. Like, when we try to like draw this line that's saying, nope, we're not like them. The fuck we are.
100%.
The fuck we are.
I got some really close friends that are police officers. And again, they're good dudes. They do the best they can with the cards they're dealt. Their job is their job, but I have a lot of respect for first responders because that shit ain't easy.
And so I will never, ever fucking back police brutality. There'll never be fucking something I back up. But we can't paint things black and white. And that's why I shoot color. Like, that's literally why I don't shoot black and white. I'm like, I shoot color because there is so much in that picture when you take it. Like, if there's one person or 100 people, there's so many things to take into consideration when you take that photo. Metaphorically, like ethically, it has a lot of depth to it, and you won't know that depth until you repeat that process over and over and over and over again until you feel like you're fucking insane. And then it becomes like you just feel like you're almost bored with it. But what happened is you've plateaued out, and I think we plateau out in life too. You know, like I think it's really easy to plateau at arriving going, well, we just can't trust the police, or, you know, we can't trust this, or we can't trust that. I'm like, well, who are you going to trust in the end? Like, I covered all 3 BLM events in Spokane, Washington, and I was really proud of our community coming out and saying, this is what we stand for, especially and demographically, like in Spokane, Washington. I mean, we got Idaho right next door. I mean, and we got people that don't really care for the whole BLM thing. And whether you like it or not, when these events go on, we have to remember that these people that show up, it takes courage to do this. It takes courage to walk down the street of color with a sign and saying we've had enough. That takes a lot of damn courage. And just like a pride event, it's someone that is transgender, gay, and that doesn't matter. And they come out and say, this is what we stand for. That takes a shit ton of courage. I don't care what like faith you come from, whether you believe it or not. Let's just get the point that it takes courage. So let's go really far back down the food chain of the people that we don't really care for. People smoking fentanyl and living on the streets. Like that guy this morning, that took a shit ton of courage for that guy to take that dollar bill that he probably needed and give it back to that child.
It is a lot of courage for him to look at that and go, man, I could get myself something, but it's not mine. And everybody assumes that they're going to steal, they're going to, take that dollar that dropped, put it in their pocket and let the kid just go on without his money. But he did the right thing. And, in the end, you went out, you said, it's not even about giving him the money. He wanted a hug and you gave him that human connection. And the human connection is a lot of times what they value more than anything else they have going on in the day. I've also noticed, Ben, that you have a lot of good portraits with the people on the streets that you meet. They all seem to be pretty comfortable around you. Like, are these all people that you've known for a while now by doing your journey through Spokane?
When I first started doing this 7 years ago, going up to somebody, I was getting rejected quite a bit. And I looked at it just like being in like junior high or high school and asking a girl out on a date, like that type of awkwardness. And you're like, I wonder how this one's going to go. And so they know it. It's almost like, I don't know if you've ever ridden a horse before, but horses are really sensitive. And so when you're green, you get on a horse and their ears go back, you're like, it's going to take me for a little ride. This is going to be fun. And it knows. Some horses are more lenient than others, but the ones that really don't want you on them, they're going to be like, I'm going to teach this person a lesson. And so it's the same thing as being in downtown Spokane. People are really sensitive to living on the streets every day. And so when you go up to them like, hey man, how's it going today? Isn't it beautiful out? And they're like, yeah, real beautiful. And it's 100 degrees. Or it's going to be 100 degrees, or it's going to be 0 degrees. And so it's really easy at the starting to like not think about what you're saying and feel like a real freaking ass. And so embarrass yourself enough times, and the people you cross paths with are gracious enough to be forgiving. I think the lesson that they taught you, whether you say it or not, like out loud, you carry it. I think people see it on you and they're like, I can get down with this person. And so once you feel confident around them, and so the transition is just, I say something to them and they're like, oh, I've seen you around. I'm like, really? And so go downtown every single day like I do right now. People notice you. And I think that's your marketing program. If you want to do boots on the ground, if you want to be part of the community, I personally think if you want to be part of the community, well, you got to be part of it. Like, you got to be on the same streets as everyone else. It's not going to the same parties. That's the icing on the cake. That the real thing is like being on the streets with the people like that are running it, and I feel like the people that are living on the streets 24/7 or borderline living on the streets 24/7 run the town more so than our local government. I think our local government forgets that. And so while local government is off doing their like handshakes and meetings and all the stuff that's really important, to like get policies passed, for the masses, they forget that 3% that needs to be addressed, because that 3% actually, like, if that 3% is actually running downtown, the people that live on the streets, they're more powerful than you think. And so why not use them to your advantage? Especially like politically. Like, why wouldn't you use them for your advantage? Like, if you're taking advantage of people anyways as a politician, like, we all know that. I mean, your intent, of course, is to like help the community, but by the time you get on shaking enough hands, you're realizing like, man, there's a lot of people I have to accommodate before it hits the masses. You're kind of just like a customer service agent. It's like talking to your cell phone company. You've been with us for 19 years. We'll give you a few perks.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, I don't mean to.
I'm not a big person about throwing myself in front of people. And in the last 6 months, I've spoken in front of high school classrooms about photography and the whole community building. I started this podcast, which is 2 years in the making, of having episodes recorded in the past and throwing them away because if I push upload, people are going to hear me and judge me. And I was like, this is a year I just got to put myself out there. No more questioning if I'm good enough or if I can do it. I'm just going to do it and see what happens. And so far, the response has been unbelievable.
Sweet. Man, I think my parents have all my old snowboard videos, but I don't think I have any skate videos left.
Growing up in our little neck of the woods, Clackamas County, it's funny.
Hey,
I got the Milwaukee hat on.
That cesspool produced a lot of good artists and athletes. It still does.
Yep. It's
So that
different.
cesspool isn't really a cesspool. It's just a funny place that people don't know about.
Yeah. When I went back, I mean, it was the first time in November when I went back. I hadn't been back since my dad passed in 99. And, man, it's changed big time.
Yeah.
I didn't go downtown.
But the entire all of Portland, Oregon has changed substantially.
Yeah. Well, should we get into, your message from today? Should we talk about, how the downtown core, how people are tired?
Yeah. I have to be sensitive because, I just got fired up, and I think even people in Spokane know I can be quite colorful. Me coming on here and saying my 2 cents, I do want to like put myself in a lot of people's shoes first. Something that would hurt another person's feelings, but that's pretty much impossible to like make everyone smile on a daily basis. So there's that. I walk downtown enough in the mornings. I walk down from dark to light. And so as we're going into summer, it's earlier and earlier. Towards the end of my walks, I usually see, or midway through my walks, I see the police, whether it's in their cars or getting out of their cars to like change shifts or whatever it's going to be. And that to be honest, they look tired, and I can relate to them because I'm on the streets. I walk down there enough, and I'm not getting paid to do this. No one's throwing anything in front of me to like do more, except likes and comments, which is cool. Like I appreciate the encouragement completely. But when I walk downtown and I see what I see on a daily basis, and the fentanyl, people losing their minds all the time. And then I talk to the people that live on the streets, that the people who live on the streets will literally know most of the police officers by first and last name, and some of them know their badge number. And that they will literally tell you which ones they enjoy and which ones they'd rather not see. I think we all have that in our own little sub circles, that we have, whether you're like a cyclist or an artist. We all have people we just don't get along with, And so there's certain police officers that I know personally. Here, I'll give you an example. There was a 14 and 15-year-old kid that were intoxicated at the bus plaza a couple of years ago, and one of the cops was having a really hard time with it. And I just talked to him a few days before, so I was trying to connect with him, like, hey, like I did. And he goes, you know what, man, I have to tell you something. He's like, I have a son that's the same age as this kid. He's like, I'm trying to get as much help as I possibly can right now. And I've got a body of people surrounding me, yelling at me. He's like, I need to help this kid out. Like, and he goes, it's really hard on me right now because this is getting personal, and I just want help. And you could see other cops, like, they have their own other story inside them. You have to remember, like, it's a story on top of a story. There's the story that's the external thing that you and I see. And then there's a story within each one of us that we have to work through to engage in what's happening right now. So when this cop's thinking about his own son, this could be his own son. He's like, what would I do if this was my son? I'm going to get him help. And you're like, wow, I just learned the character of this cop really quickly. And so that story for me is like, I'm not going to just go to bat every day for this guy. But at this time, this moment, I connected with him. And there's this thing called like, and I'm not the originator of this, but there's an artist by the name of Mikado Fujimura, and he's a Japanese artist that I've become fond of. And he's talking about understanding someone, and to understand someone, the concept is to stand under them. And so when you stand under someone and you want to understand them, you're giving them the surface area to be a wingnut. You're giving them room to be vulnerable. And if they say something ridiculous, you're like, well, I've probably thought that stupid stuff too before. And so I'll give you a dumb example. Like, so one of these people was telling me about, like, they saw a rattlesnake coming at them, and they thought it was coming at them to attack them, and so they started shooting at it. And I'm just like, rattlesnakes don't attack people; they just protect themselves and coil up. So there was a miscommunication with what's going on. So me knowing the nature of the rattlesnake and me knowing the nature of this person, I'm just like, yeah, there's a wingnut moment. I'm in discount and I still love this person. Like,
I think the problem that I notice is, especially with law enforcement, is people can't separate. They're not separating the job from the actual person. They don't look at the person as a person. They look at them as, oh, that's a cop. I don't want anything to do with them. They don't see that person, like you said, that person has a kid. He's seeing a kid the same age in a situation where he needs help. And he showed he feels it. He's a real person. And I have by no means do I have any sympathy for police brutality, just like you said. But sometimes we have to step back and we have to look at the big picture, that these people have a life. They have things going on outside of work. They just chose to be a first responder. They chose to be a police officer, an ambulance attendant, a fireman. They chose this. They chose this because in reality, when they started, they wanted to help people. And then they realized.
I actually said something to one of the police officers just a couple days ago. And I go, like I kind of said, why I just told you about being exhausted. And he goes, can I just interrupt you? He's like, we aren't exhausted. He goes, sometimes we are. He goes, that's the honest truth. Sometimes. He goes, but we are not always exhausted. And I was like, damn, dude, thank you for correcting me. He said it with a smile, like, not like I always like to think about intent, and his intent was like, dude, I took this job for a reason and I got this, man. That was a pretty cool interaction because I think it'd be really easy for them to be like, fuck yeah, we're exhausted. Yeah, like, I'm already sick of you, dude. Like, you got 2 cameras on you. What do you want from me? And I've seen that same police officer interact with people downtown. I saw that same police officer have this dude playing "Fuck the Police" on a Bluetooth speaker, and that cop started dancing. I mean, to just take in the interaction, you're just like, what else do you do? Like, and it was early in the morning. It was like 7:38 in the morning in the summer, and no one was getting mad at each other. It was just like this thing. You're like, dude, I think everyone's just like doing their best right now to like understand each other.
Exactly. Hey, Ben, no, man, none of this is all great. I love it. Like I said, it's your story, and I'm just kind of adding my little bits as we go.
Well, I just don't want to sound like I'm a fan, like some fucking fuckboy for a cop. Sorry, fanboy for cops.
You definitely
like don't. because dude, I definitely have had my own interactions with them, and I don't even need to get into that. I refuse to live the narrative of believing in villains. All of us make really bad decisions. Some of us, unfortunately, make bad enough decisions where it puts us behind bars, or it puts us in the court system. And so, when I see, I'm gonna try to cut back on this. When I see a police officer or law enforcement have the ability to give someone a little bit of leniency, and they don't, I feel like they're just adding to the wounds, because we know what the consequences are once someone gets in the court system. So it's pretty hard to get out unless you got money. In Spokane, for instance, the income isn't very high and the cost of living keeps going higher. And so people keep getting stuck in it. And I don't want people thinking that, like, actually, can we just stop this conversation piece about this? I don't want to talk anymore about the police.
Not a problem.
Yeah, I'm over that. Like, there's better things to talk about.
With your community work, walking around, capturing, the people, the lifestyle, the structures in Spokane. Have you ever thought about how you can turn your art into a way to build a foundation or some way to, sell a print, have a gallery, and find a way for it to support, the people on the street, support the community? Something that I've tried to figure out here. And I've hit red flag after red flag. But I think the way you capture stuff, it'd be so amazing to see it going to good use.
I just post every day on Instagram, on Twitter and on Facebook. And I think that's enough. People don't realize like how much work it is already just to like go shoot the photos every single day. And then, it's like no one's paying me to do this. I do this on my own accord, and I have my own opinions, like you're hearing about it. And I've been doing it for 7 years, like I've already said. I realize that when you do this type of work, that no one's ever gonna come hunt you down in your community and be like, how can we utilize you? Like it. So I'm already doing my part. I went to an art showing on this last Friday, and it's supposed to be about community. And I went in there. I'm over 6 foot tall. I got 2 cameras on me, and I'm walking around the place, go see the art. I'm there for like 20 minutes and leave, and I didn't talk to a single person. And so I was like, well, if that's about community, then I think what I'm doing downtown, like connecting with the people in the streets and just posting on the internet is more than enough. Because I don't want to put a show on and hang out with a bunch of wingnuts that just are there for like cheese and wine. Like, you can take your Eddie Bauer gear and beat it. Like, I really don't care. You seriously didn't show up there for the artwork. You show up there because you're a drunk fuck and you like art when you're drunk. Like, fuck you. Like, seriously. And count me out because I don't drink and I don't want your monkey ass seeing my shit while you're drunk. You can look at that shit drunk all day long while it's on the internet. And you can freaking pour as many glasses of wine you want, whatever you want. But in person, I don't want to see you. Like, I see too much on the streets to take you seriously. See, that's the stuff that, like, I don't talk about, on social media, because it's just going to start pissing people off. Like, that's just burning bridges down in the community. People don't want to hear it. I just take photos and make small little captions that say, walking this morning.
Social media is such a fickle beast.
Yeah, we have to be careful what we talk about on here, because next thing you know, we're getting canceled.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're canceled for having your own opinion. How dare you?
Yeah, and take photos all the time of the same thing. Of like, for instance, let's say that I have a couple of weeks where downtown Spokane's being kind of weird. And for all you, if you didn't know this, downtown Spokane can be weird because it has a shortage on fentanyl. And so now people are more on edge. But you tell someone, hey, downtown's kind of sketchy right now. You'll have some person like, no, it's not. Nope. It's totally fine. You don't know what you're talking about. And you're going, well, I walk down there twice a day through all the alleyways. And I actually talked to someone and they just let me know that there's a shortage on fentanyl. Like, got it on the streets. Like, I heard it. It's fine for people to have their opinions online and say what they want, but they don't realize, like, the little brush fires they start. Because when it's not truthful, you're creating a narrative for your own local community that isn't truthful, and you're telling someone that has more experience in you just by having their feet on the ground and shooting through a camera that they don't know what they're talking about, and you're just like, dude, I don't really know what to tell you, but I'm not going to even get an argument with you about this. This is just silly.
And it's weird, the trolls that come out and always tell you you're wrong. They comment on everything you do. They look at it and they're just like, you have no clue.
You know what's really great about trolls? There's a block button.
Yeah. The block button has become my friend.
You know, if someone comes to your house, unexpected, you just lock the door and walk away. They can stand out there all they want. If they stand there too long, you just send your dog out.
Exactly. It's funny. Even after all these years, we have the same thought process.
Well, as the water in Milwaukee.
We're lucky we don't have a third eye.
No, we're just born mad.
That is true. I saw you posted a few days ago that a gentleman stopped you on the street and asked you for a portrait.
Yeah.
I had that happen to me. Our downtown core is going through a pretty brutal process right now. They're tearing everything down that was old and original to put these ugly $1 million condos in.
Mm-hmm.
My town that I live in is Langley, so it's about 40 minutes outside of Vancouver. Technically, it used to be the middle class. Now, people can't afford Vancouver, so they're kind of coming out to the suburbs. And they're putting these condos in, and nobody in the area, it used to be low-income housing, so nobody in the area can actually afford to buy these places. The casino bought a ton of stuff in the downtown area. They're tearing it, flattening, and putting these high-rises in. But I had a guy, I was just shooting an old bar that had closed down, and they started tearing the siding off, and I love fences and dumpsters, and I just love that scene. I was shooting it, and he walks by. He's like, "Oh, shooting photos?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he like poses for me. And I'm like, he's like, "Take my photo." So I took a photo, and he's like, "You can use that everywhere, man. Have a good day." And just kept walking. Doesn't happen often. But man, it was such a different interaction than walking up to someone who's huddled up on the side of the street and being like, "Hey man, you okay? Can I get you anything?" Or seeing people that you're like, "Oh man, that'd be a good photo." I'm not used to people approaching me. So how did you feel when that happened?
So that was actually a learning. I don't know if it wasn't really a learning experience. It was just that there's a process when people do stop you. For one, the person has just stopped you, and then two, you still have to get a good photo. There's a phase that I've learned to work through, which is if someone stops you, they're usually going to give you some cornball like facial expression, their tongue out and give you the horns or whatever. And it's fine. And that's like, I learned that like, there's an opportunity right after that, which is, like, dude, I love that you did that, but like, come on, let's just do one more without that. And when you're in the moment and you're having a conversation with them, if you just say don't say too much, but just say, "Hey, let's just get you." And that's why I got that guy. That was him. And, I had a couple seconds to work with like framing and all that. But when it comes down to it, being able to tell them to be them without telling them to be them is a pretty special moment. So, if you repeat that over and over again, hopefully someday you'll get a few good photos of it.
It's a tough one. It's walking a fine line. You have them wanting to do what they feel like they have to do in the image, but then you want that, like that. You can just see it. He's thinking about it as you took the photo. You can see it in his eyes. He's thinking about that moment. He's like, he just wants me to be me. And you captured it perfectly.
I've really never thought of it that way before. That was a good way of thinking of it.
Yeah, man. Like if you blow it up on a big screen and you just sit and you can see the thought process. He's like, man, this guy's just wants me. He doesn't want me to do the typical, like you said, the horns and the tongue out, like being a wild child. He wants me to just be myself. And that you captured it so perfectly with the framing. I love how the sidewalk, the railings go both ways, the archway in the back, the blurred out, the light star off the headlight of the vehicle. Like I like everything in the image. And not a lot of times
he's a beautiful human being.
He is.
That's beauty right there. And beauty isn't my putting makeup on or, having that sweet outfit that you've always wanted to wear. Beauty is putting all your bullshit aside and just saying, fuck it. I'm right here. Like, yeah. I'm a goddamn wingnut. and I'm with another fucking wiener, obviously. So I guess here's our moment to bond. And so whether it's like 2 seconds or, a couple hours, I think that's where the magic lies with all of us, is when we put down that second fence and just put the tongue back in our mouth and put the horns down and just resonate together.
100%.
It's really easy to say. It's super easy to say. But like, when you're having a bad day and I'm having a bad day and trying to connect, it's not easy.
Nope. You got to put the bullshit aside.
It takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
It takes courage on both people's part.
The thing is people look at, you're a homeowner, Ben, you have your place. I'm a homeowner. I have my place. And people look at us from the outside who don't know us, don't know that we have these issues with depression, that we're a little different thinking. And they think we have our shit together. And fuck, man, I struggle every single day to get out of bed. I tell my son is 22, almost 23, who's had a really bad time. His mom actually passed away from a fentanyl overdose. And he's had a really hard time. It's been 2017 she passed. So it's been 6 years, 7 years. And I tell him, like, your day's going to come. The shit's going to be clear one day and you're just going to make the step to get your life moving in a direction. But I don't got my shit together. It took me years to be okay getting out of bed, not okay. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And now I have my camera and it helps me capture moments. They're different than everybody else's, but they're moments that are important to me and my journey. So it's, the depression and the mental health is bullshit. We got to try to stuff in a closet and make it through our days.
Well, yeah, I think mental health stuff is interesting because, like, you're not in a wheelchair, you don't have a crutch, you don't have like a cast on, you don't have like this physical thing that people see, but inside you're crippled. And people, people don't want to talk about this, but like, I was just in therapy last week talking to my therapist, and he agreed with me, which was, some of us have wanted to like blow our brains out since we were like 13, 14 years old. I know everyone wants to hear like, but you can't think that way. Well, we fucking do. Are we going to act on it? Probably not. There's been some times been pretty damn close.
100%.
And it should be okay to be like, hey man, my thought of paradise right now is not fucking being here. And so when I talk about courage, I look at the people living on the streets. All 4 seasons in Spokane, Washington, it goes from -15 to 110, 115 sometimes. But my point is, these people don't blow their, like, they're not blowing their brains out. I'm sorry, I'd fucking, I'd send it. Like, I'd turn into dust if I got in. Maybe I wouldn't, because I haven't been there. But there's courage in this, and these people give me, these are my heroes. It sounds insane, but the people on the streets that have nothing, they're my heroes. And they give me time that they shouldn't give me. The streets are theirs. They're not mine. I feel like I'm just finally getting a hall pass. Like, it's okay to walk down there.
But they're starting to know you by, they see you all the time. They see that you're a guy they can interact with. You're not looking for trouble. You're not there to cause them grief. And they're opening up.
Oh, but there's also people that go down there more than me to help. There's a group called Jules Helping Hands in Spokane, and they've done a lot for the town. And they hike into places and give people water and food and check on their well-being. But they're a small organization, and no one there makes enough money to brag about. And some people in town talk about like they're bringing in millions, which they're not. It takes a lot of money to take care of an enormous population of unhoused people in Spokane, Washington. Like, it takes more than just a couple $1 million. It takes millions.
Yeah.
Especially when you have people in the streets and not housed. It's actually cheaper to house people than keep them on the streets. Yep. But people don't want to even listen even that far. They just want to, like, these people gotta get some bootstraps and figure it all out. I did. Well, they didn't.
Favorite. It's my favorite when I hear people like, oh, if it was me. I mean, I'd probably said it myself. Oh, if I was in that situation, I'd work three jobs to keep a roof over my head. And who knows what is actually the situation, then why they're on the streets. I mean, I could have ended up on the streets. I went through all sorts of things that could have put me out there. I'm going to share a story with you, Ben, that I don't know if I've told another soul since I talked to my therapist when I was 15. Just to give some perspective on why this is so important to me to talk to people like you. When I think I was 13 and my parents got in one of their awesome fights. I heard my dad throw my mom across their bed and into the wall. And 13-year-old me had finally had a fucking enough. I was like, I'm fucking done with this bullshit. I'm sick of coming home scared. I'm sick of my dad beating my fucking ass for dropping a football. And as I walked out of my bedroom, I don't know if you remember the house on Lake Road. My door was right next to their door. I walked out of my room and I turned and my dad had his .308 pointed at my mom's fucking head. I walked past him. I stood in front of the gun and I said, fucking shoot me, because it would be better than living with you. And that was the first time that I saw my dad start to cry. And he kind of came out of this moment where he was mad at my mom because my mom told him to stop gambling. And as a 13-year-old with a rifle pointed at your face, but you're willing to die to protect your mother, it's tough. And it's fucked me up my whole life. But I'm not afraid of fucking nothing. And that's a good and a bad thing, because being a teenager and not afraid to fucking die, knowing that if someone wants to throw fists, that's just a fucking fist. I had a rifle in my face, like, by my father. And I started writing and trying to figure out ways to help myself. I realized that I got a story and a journey, and I just need to try to be honest with everybody. They think I've had this glorious life. You know, oh, your life's been so good. You've had everything you wanted. I work my ass off. And I'm not good. I'm not good a lot. I take time off work because I can't get out of fucking bed. Because I'm fucking done. I'm tired. I don't know how I'm going to get through where I'm at right now. I think I just fake it better than other people. So helping people and being a sounding board and letting people talk about their lives and what they've been through, in a way, is my therapy, because it allows me to share the shit that I go through. It allows me to speak it. It's out there now, right? So that's why when I started seeing you taking these street photos and these images of people, this shit just resonates with me, because all it took, if I turned left instead of turning right, that one moment, that decisive moment in my lifetime, this is where I would have been. You know, so sorry, I didn't mean to drop that on you, but I haven't talked about it, bro. And I feel like you had firsthand, you kind of knew where I was from, so it just felt like I needed to share it.
I think we forget that our parents are only humans too. And they weren't given a handbook on how to raise Tyson or Ben. Each one of us comes with our own set of blessings and thorns in our sides. Some of us have more thorns than others. And me personally, my father came from a father that served in World War II. My dad's father had a very, 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 very rough upbringing. And so whatever happened to my dad, knowing my father, he's going to do whatever he can. Again, let's not play villain character. My father's going to do whatever he can to not be like his dad. You're still affected by what they were affected by.
Yep. Intergenerational.
I watched
trauma.
my dad work. Yeah, I watched my dad work his ass off, and he was a depressed guy. I watched my mom work her ass off, and she had to just do what she could. My mom was like barely 18 when she had me, and so in the 70s, when you were barely 18, I think that was, the evangelical movement was going on then. So if you're a young person and you're having a kid, like, oh damn, you're going to get married and you're going to do like all this stuff is going to go on, and that's a scary trip. Like, I can imagine being 18 years old and having to raise a child, and you have no idea what you're going to get out of it. And then on top of it, having to deal with your parents and having to deal with your friends. And so again, I look at my mom and dad were very courageous to keep me.
Well, I was adopted, right? My birth mom was 14 when she had me in 74. So I just met her last November for the first time. And I just thanked her, right? Like the same thing. I was like, she was crying. She was like, I looked for you. I've looked for you my whole life. And I said, thank you. Because being a young child pregnant in the 70s with nobody supporting you, the easiest option would have been to get rid of me. So you could move on and be a kid. But you didn't. You delivered me, and then I was adopted into a family. Thank you. And there's nothing else you can say, man. Just like your mom and dad, like being young, trying to raise.
I love them both, like dearly. Yeah. Like they're both great human beings. They're fucking wingnuts, just like I am. I mean, and I'm proud of it. Like I'm proud of the wingnut shit that they taught me, and because whether it's good or bad, I learned from it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's some shit that I'm like, fudge pants on you, but at the same time, I also believe in a thing called forgiveness, and I refuse to live the life of like holding a grudge where, it's just going to eat. If you don't forgive someone, that's just going to lead to vengeance deep down. And that doesn't, we all know that war doesn't solve anything. There's multiple wars right now happening across the country, across the world, excuse me.
Yep.
And lives are being lost. And it's not
senseless.
Funny.
No, not at all.
No.
Figuring out that after the fact that before PTSD was really a thing and people talked to it, my dad was suffering from PTSD from Vietnam. So a lot of his actions.
I don't mean to say it's justified, but
no. And then I learned also that his dad was an abusive, alcoholic asshole. And I regret to this day that I didn't talk to my dad for 10 years. And we made up December of 1998. And then May 99, I got a call while I was away at a downhill race that my dad had died. So I had very few months with my dad as, we decided that father-son really wasn't working. So let's just be friends. And we had great conversations after that. I learned so much about him as a human being. And it took a lot for me. I still have some trauma, obviously, from it. But I told my dad, Dad, I'm not mad at you anymore. And I love you. And, let's just move forward. Let's enjoy life. We still have a lot of life left. I didn't know it was 5 months, but all I can say to anybody listening who is mad at their parents, their friends, being angry is not worth it. Just say, if you fucked it up, say you're sorry. If they fucked it up, say, man, you hurt me. And if they want to apologize, that's cool, but get it out of your system. It makes your life much better.
I don't like going on fishing expeditions. And so if I definitely have done my fair share of going on them, and the fish to catch is like looking for an explanation. And then that's again going back to like, I'm not going to play the villainous card. Some of us have just some wounds that are so deep that insane, even getting the S out for sorry is too painful. And so that's where the forgiveness comes in. And so when you start working on using the word forgiveness, instead of hating someone, you exchange hate for disappointment, and disappointment is this open field that you can put enough space between you and them, and you can still enjoy the sunset or sunrise that happens there, versus why the fuck you sitting here with me? I mean, it's easy to go down that road. Like I'm a pro at being like, hey man, fuck you. See that sunset? That's fucking not yours, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so good at that, but I know that, like, I want someone to give me the space, give me that. I'm a motherfucker to be able to appreciate this on my worst fucking day. And I want them to be able to appreciate it on their worst fucking day. And so with saying that, I'm like, you know what? I'm goddamn disappointed in you, but we both need to be able to, like, see this today to go on tomorrow. You're owed this sunset. You're owed it. Like, Mother Nature gave it to you just like gave it to me. And I think that's important. Like, put your shit aside and just, like, let's take in nature's beauty versus our walls that we create for ourselves, and it ends up hurting a large body of people in the long run.
I like that outlook, Ben. I'm going to start trying to use the forgiveness word instead of waiting for someone to apologize or getting anything from anybody else. If somebody does me wrong, you know what, man? I don't have time for the shit. Whatever. I forgive you, and I'll just move forward. I dwell on. I have
this. So I have this thing, like, you know, I think I was born to, like, be a warrior of some sort, even if it was a bad one. But warrior. Yeah. With a lot of bad words and an anger problem and a revenge problem and whole bunch of shit. And so I decided when I quit doing my old drinking thing that I'm gonna stop warring. Now, you don't just quit being a warrior. I had to, like, learn a few things that was really hard, and eventually I got to this point where I'm like, okay, metaphorically, I want to be in the garden. I want to be a gardener, and I'm gonna put a fence around this, and there's a gate, and outside that gate is where war happens. And people that want a war, I'm gonna show them the gate. I've been to my own war of life that I don't want to go back to it. It'd be really easy to walk right through that gate and just become that person I don't want to be. My photography and looking through that viewfinder and seeing the sunrise every morning come through downtown Spokane or whatever city I'm walking through, that is a spectacle that I don't want to give up. That is the garden, like, providing fruit. And there's a lot of seeds that were planted before I quit drinking, and there's been a lot of seeds I've planted after I quit drinking. And I don't want to make quit drinking, like, my centerpiece of why I shoot photos. I decided to, like, take something that I've always wanted to do, which is take my artistic ability and give it my fucking all. And so since August 27th, I have shot every single day, almost twice a day, until today. I shot this morning before I got on the show. And, like, talk about I've gone through some stuff the last couple of years that really tested me, who I am as a character, and it broke me. And I'm working through the brokenness right now. And my goal at the end of it is to shed light. And so when you see the darkness that I photograph and you see spectacles of light, that's me showing hope. That's me going towards the light. So metaphorically, again, waking up in the morning and going into darkness into light, that I'm transitioning right now. I'm not going from light to darkness. I'm not. I go photograph that, but I don't get, like, the same feeling going out in the evening from 4:30 to 6-7 o'clock at night. That it's just not. It's cool, not the same as the morning. Morning's more like church for me. It's like nature's art gallery. There's like nothing downtown Spokane, like art gallery wise, that can top what I see downtown in the morning, like just with my own eyes. Just seeing light hit architecture, light hit human beings. Fuck, that's mind-boggling beautiful.
I'm a morning light person myself.
Oh, and here's a funny thing about me is I come from a Christian family, and you know, I didn't like go find Jesus after I quit drinking. I'm like, oh my God, I went to AA and I'm a Jesus guy now. Everything's good and fluffy. Like, I do like the character. I do like the character of Jesus, because the backbone of him was relating with the marginalized, and the marginalized are your artists, poet, you know, whether you're a poet or a painter or dancer or a misfit, or he was for that 3% of people that like the masses have a hard time relating with. And so that's why he could sit down with the prostitute or you know, the sex worker, or you would call them in this day and age. But he would sit down with them and understand them, stand under them. You know, he was that guy that just didn't hand someone a sandwich and be like, "Here you go, bud," and walk on. He'd actually would sit down and eat that sandwich with you, and want to know like what's going on. And so when I go downtown Spokane and walk around, I don't talk about Jesus. Not these people that live on the streets that have enough people come to them. You know what you need? And they get handed a great peanut butter jelly sandwich and some shit about Jesus. Yeah, I've heard that before. Fucking, that's a more joke, dude. And, you got a couple Bible verses to go with it. How do you like that?
I think more people need to.
Sorry,
no, man. It's fucking amazing. More people need to just treat them like they're human beings. Like, you watch people walk by and they like, you know, they
Did you just hear what you said? More people need to treat them like human beings. They are fucking humans.
I know.
They don't walk on 4 legs.
Oh,
fucking.
Sometimes I feel like people look at them like they do. That's crazy to me.
God,
you know, I have people.
They go poop and pee and do all the same shit we do.
Yep, 100% they do.
They bleed. They cry. They even laugh. There even is laughter that comes out of them.
Yeah, and you know, you see, I don't know, like here you see like the groups of them that every night they get together so they're safe. They all sleep in the same area, so they have a group feel, that they have their community. They put their community together when they go to bed.
But they do, and there's subgroups throughout Spokane. You know, there's some that work, you know, in a pack of a dozen, and why there's a dozen of them, one will go off the store and buy all the food for them, or one of them will go off and find clothing or whatever it is. But they work as a team, and so it's more safe for them.
Yeah.
And they're gonna have to hustle. Like, let's not gloss things over. Like, the raw bones of things, people gotta hustle in the streets. You know, you're gonna be slinging shoes and cell phones and drugs and weapons and all. I mean, I walk by people all the time with like machetes and bats and beat sticks, all types of stuff, because they're hustlers. Like, yeah. And to hustle, you know, you cross the wrong people sometimes. And I've seen enough hustling in my life, you know, from hustling. Like, people gotta feed themselves. They gotta put gas in their car. You know, they gotta pay for their addiction so they can get to work the next day. I mean, there's unfortunately there's a lot of people that have to take drugs to get to work, whether they're prescribed or not. Mm-hmm. You know, let's talk about this. Like, there's people that are prescribed medication by a doctor, SSRIs or whatever they are, for your mental health, and then your dumbass goes off and thinks it's okay to drink on. And only you drink, you drive home.
Yep.
Well, if you know anything about SSRIs and drinking, you have 2 or 3 drinks, and it's a thing called standing blackout. Like, you're totally functional, and I've done it. Like, I've done it multiple times. I know all about the standing blackout thing. Your body just doesn't know, like, the self-regulating thing. Your friends think you're totally good. You think you're totally good. But then the next morning, some friends are talking to you about some stuff, and you're like, huh? Well, I don't really remember that. Let's not talk about that. And then next thing you know, this is the sad part, is SSRIs are a journey in themselves. Like, for anyone to get put on an antidepressant is a hard journey. It's not a fix-all. It's like this little tool that a lot of times, no matter how many you take, it doesn't work. And then, of course, there's some disappointment that comes with it. And then there's some people that, like, it's not working, and they're still taking it. You know, and then they're drinking on them, compounding the problems. And so we're in some weird times culturally, like, when it comes to drug use. Like, so someone taking SSRIs is all fine to go to work on, but someone smoke weed before work, it's not okay.
It's definitely a weird.
We're all fucking broken. Like, we're all doing whatever we possibly can to, like, get to work. But I'm not going to make the person shooting heroin feel any fucking worse. They need to feed the fucking kids. Like,
that's true. I mean,
it's such a hard thing to rationalize. We as a society are stuck in this weird thing. We're all fucking broken.
And then you have to remember too, there's also that risk that supply they get is tainted. And then nobody feeds the kids. No, that's a scary part for them, as well as everybody around them.
And in the last 2 decades are growing up on their own because of parents overdosing, or parents stuck in the criminal justice system, when we're just all a bunch of broken wingnuts. Like, no, it's really sad. Like, and so us that are, that are depressed, us that are creative, usually, like, the creatives are depressed. Creatives have this hole inside them that they feel like that will never be filled. At least that's for me. There's this like deep, dark hole that I fill with beauty and disappointment versus hate and revenge. And that portal, that infinite portal of darkness, is sustainable. It makes me, like, look up at the sky versus down on my feet. And so once I think we realize that, like, we take these beings that are sensitive to everything around them, they're like barometers, they're like human barometers for culture. And I think once you give those people some room to breathe and we're going to start evolving again. Once we start realizing we're all just broken, and we all need each other, for not just because of the talents that we have, but we need each other from what we learned from our brokenness. That's when we'll start evolving again. But we're so proud of, like, I don't know. I just feel like we're stuck right now. And I hope being a creative in this day and age, what I'm doing will somehow make a difference.
I always hid my brokenness. I was like, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. While inside I'm a million pieces, trying to figure out my own process. Just like you were saying, I was a single dad with 4 kids. I had a career. I had to leave that career and started working at a bike shop because I could be close to home. So, trying to figure out how I'm going to pay the mortgage. I owned a house. So, I'm already 2 steps up. But how I'm going to put food on the table, how I'm going to pay bills. Trying to figure that out, making less than half of what I was making. It was scary. There was times I wanted to quit. Days I went without eating. I'd hide in my bedroom at night because I was so down about the whole scenario. And it took one person to reach out and be like, man, you're struggling. And I'm like, no, I'm good. Don't worry about me. And he's like, I see it. I see it in your face. And this was right before Christmas. And I was like, no, man, we'll be good. No idea how Christmas was going to happen at that point. No idea how groceries were going to happen. And this man showed up at my door in his truck, a whole bed full of food, a whole back section of his truck filled with gifts for my kids. And he said, man, I just want you to have a good season. And that's made me change my outlook. It made me think, man, there's good people out there. There's people that I know I can rely on now, that I can let them know that I'm not okay. You know, I need help. I need someone that I can talk to when things aren't going the way they should. You know, it's all about perspective of our situation. I would do anything for my kids. I would get rid of everything I own to make sure my kids are smiling. But he made me realize I had to put myself sometimes first and be good and get better. And depression's a bitch. Sometimes we make up this scenario of what the day is going to bring. You know, you tell yourself shit's going to happen that's not even in the realm of a reality. And when I get in those zones and I get in those moments, I'm awful to be around.
Hi, so much.
I'm snappy. And when I snap, I don't just snap like go away. I mean, I come out with some pretty interesting word combinations that if I'm doing okay, I'm not going to say. I'm trying to learn to take responsibility for the shit I've caused in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not for anybody else. That's for me. Because I feel like if I can take responsibility for the hustle that I had to do, the shit that I had to pull, then maybe I can forgive myself enough to realize like life's pretty damn good right now. It's tough, man. It's tough trying to be solid and, you know, give the kids that strong foundation all the time because you want them to understand. Like, I use the warrior analogy myself a lot. I'm like, load it on because nothing's going to break me, motherfucker. I've been to the fucking bottom. But have I been to the bottom? No. You know what I mean?
No,
it's like,
it used to feel
I've
like
been to the bottom of my life, but I haven't been to the bottom. So I'm willing to fight for everything I have. But man, sometimes it's nice to not have to stress, not have to be.
I've landed at the privileged bottom.
Yeah.
I'm privileged.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I've said things like, you know, if I didn't have the family that I have, the support, the friends and all that, I'd be on the streets. And my younger brother that's 5 years younger than me said to me that he's like, yeah, but you're not, you know? And so when you say that and you haven't really been there, I think, you're doing yourself in a sense of a disservice of, I don't know if it's like a poor me or this or that, but like, you have to be really careful when you're saying it because you're like, dude, I actually have a good group of people that help me, even though I feel like I'm really alone. There's still a good group of people that like come through for me no matter like what circumstances I'm in. And, so you aren't homeless, you know, you aren't houseless. You're hopeless. You have a sense of hopelessness, but when it comes to the big picture, you are far from homeless, far from it, because
very, very far.
If you landed on the streets today, guarantee there's going to be a few people that'd be like, hey dude, that ain't happening. That doesn't happen. Like someone, and I'm not expecting like someone to come to the rescue, but the reality is probably your friend base, family base isn't going to let you stoop that low.
Yeah.
And, if so, then you got yourself a journey ahead of you. Like, but again, you'll probably get through it.
You know, life is a journey, right? It's about how we deal with every situation that comes up. So it's been, you know, it's been a tough one. It's been fun. It's been, you know, I've had my highs, I've had my lows. You know, every day I wake up and I just one foot in front of the other. You know, that's what we do.
That's all you can do.
Yep.
You know, our hardest days are walking in the fog. You just don't know what's coming ahead, and you just deal with it.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes you just don't respond the best when it happens, but at least you respond.
That is true. Hey, when did you transition from shooting mountain bikes into your street stuff? Was that 7 years ago?
Yeah. I love bicycles. Like I had this photographer, Colin Marr, that used to photograph me back in the day and get me put in like Bike Mag. And I traveled with him. He's a really cool dude. And I joked around in my head thinking maybe I'll become a photographer someday. And all of a sudden, like when I was like 28, 29, I started shooting. And it wasn't for mountain biking, actually. It was just like go downtown Portland and photograph like weird abstract stuff. I don't even know what the heck I was doing. And then I knew that since I knew mountain biking pretty well, you know, and just like visually being part of it, that'd be probably something I'd adapt to the easiest. So I started going to trails and stuff and photographing people hanging out and jumping and going BMX trails, going to DH races, cyclocross races. I found out that I liked like the emotion of it. Like the sidelines, the people getting all excited and the expression on people's faces of like suffering or winning or whatever it's going to be. So there was a sense of humanity involved versus like, oh, look at the trick they just did. And so about 7 years ago and started Shoot Street, I just found out that I didn't have to set up like mountain bike shoots. I could just go shoot. I didn't need a subject matter. My subject matter was already there. And so downtown Spokane for me has just been like, it's like an outdoor studio for me to go practice on. It's like a skate park. You know, I practice photography like some people practice skateboarding. Like to be good at skateboarding, you got to do it every damn day, like a lot. And you have to be willing to like fail and crash and man, I never thought that photography would be such one of those battles where you feel like you fail and fail and fail. And mentally you go through some really crazy storms as you grow as a photographer and you want to quit. There's multiple times I've wanted to quit in the last few years. And so actually transitioning from a commercial photographer to actually wanting to be actually just an artist, sustainable path for me as a photographer. I've noticed that since I want to be more of an artist than a commercial photographer, work actually starts to come your way naturally. Because I look at my street photography as like my marketing program locally. Like I walk downtown every day. People start seeing me enough. People see me post. People know I'm connected with my community, you know? So work wise, I think if you want to like do something as a creative in your community, it's just, if you're going to do art, whether you're a sketch artist, painter, whatever, paint things of your community, you know, whether it's people or whatever it is, but like that's you as a creative, you're giving your gift back. And we as artists hope that like giving our gift back, someday the community will come back and support us. And that's like buying our art. You know, our art is non-tangible. It's when I went to design school, we were told that we're going to take you artists and turn you into designers, which means taking something that's non-tangible and making it tangible. And so going backwards, taking something that's tangible and making it non-tangible, that means I am not now making it for the masses. I make it for me. It either resonates with you or it doesn't. But I'm not changing what I'm doing for you at all. Like, this is a selfish act. 100% selfish. Like, I put 2 middle fingers up. Like, you're not invited. I'm going to the party by myself. Yeah. Me and the wake up of the morning. Like, you're not going to walk with me. This is my damn time. That acting alone is a very, very selfish act. And I have to give myself some grace here and there to realize I'm being a little hard on myself about that, which means I'm just like, I've become very disciplined in this. And it's easy when you're disciplined like this to become proud. And to become proud is how you taint your work. You'll foul your fucking work up being a proud human being. I even know, like, the mornings I walk downtown and I start feeling proud about what I do. I'm like, you fucking ding dong. Like, you ain't shit. Like, you are not nothing. Like, you are a human being holding a camera that someone designed that's like super badass. Like, it barely misses. Like, you have to be pretty bad with the camera to miss these day and age and get a blurry photo. Like, and so the tools are just amazing. And so my job as a storyteller visually is really it's become much easier. So that means I have to work harder at telling a story by using this equipment. And it's not being technical with it. It's taking this technical piece of equipment and still getting down to the bottom line, which is simplicity. The simple message of taking a photo of something and it resonating with another human being. And you have no idea how it's going to resonate with them. Like, it's not your job to like tell them how it's supposed to resonate with them. Like, art is art. Like,
exactly.
Like, there's no definition of art. Like, your definition of art is completely different than mine. So it cancels each other out.
You know, when people ask you for a description of your picture, like, oh, describe what it means. That's not what I want my photos to do. I want them to look at my photo and come to their own conclusion. Well, you know, good, bad, indifferent. I don't care if you like it or not. I saw something. It's my vision. It's my art. And I'm not going to explain it.
I am, you know, like, it doesn't matter like how many people I'm around or not around. I carry a sense of loneliness inside me. I feel lonely a lot. And so my photography, if I was going to say if it represents anything, it's me taking my loneliness and saying that I refuse to be lonely. And I'm going to go out and like work through this. Do I come home still lonely? Yeah. But it's refusing to resonate in the loneliness, because the transition from loneliness is going from lonely to solitude. And so solitude is being in the now. Like, when I was downtown this morning and shooting, I was like, we're going from lonely time to fucking solitude time. And it takes just a few seconds to just like click, and I'm in the viewfinder, and solitude is at its finest, you know? And being in the now in the viewfinder is one of the most beautiful places, magnificent places I've ever resonated in as a human being. It's this place that you spend a lot of time in. You know, some people spend a lot of time on a bar stool, and you know, they get their plaque on that on that table because they've drank so many pints of beer.
Yeah.
Me, I don't need the plaque, dude. And I just want to show up in the morning for Mother Nature. Like, I want to see what she has to offer.
Yeah.
Because there's another base of people, they're already seeing it. And it's crazy. When I walk around downtown in the morning, I make jokes that Spokane is hungover, because from 5 a.m. to 8 o'clock, there is barely anyone down there. Like, coffee shops open at freaking 7 o'clock in the morning. One of my friends has a coffee stand. He opens it at 5. So I actually go there once in a while and to get my coffee. I was going to like not make it at home. To have downtown Spokane to yourself from 5 to 8 is crazy. Like, there's other cities that are like already moving and shaking. And so when I go downtown Spokane from 5 in the evening to 7 o'clock at night, man, all the bars are packed. And that's a lie. Not all the bars are packed, but the bars are busier, and coffee shops aren't open. And so I kind of just see like where people put their time in, and that's fine. Not everyone's an alcoholic, or, you know, people enjoy getting off work and meeting up with some friends, having a couple of drinks, and like go home and deal with life. That's fine. But I don't see that so much in coffee shops downtown Spokane until like 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. And I don't know. It just seems weird. Like, so I photograph when no one's down there to like, maybe hopefully someday they'll be like, damn, dude, I want to go down there when he's down there. Like,
yeah.
And embrace solitude.
I think for me, like, I go places, and as soon as I put the AirPods in, it's like I've transitioned into my own mind.
Oh yeah.
I've blocked out the noises. It allows me to strictly just walk with my focus on. And I don't really like to walk with other people, because then you have to carry a conversation. And I find it takes away from what I'm trying to find. You know, when I shoot photos, I walk and I just shoot what catches my eye. I don't plan things. I don't think about anything. I just want to be out in the community walking. Some days it's taking pictures of mailboxes or dumpsters or, you know, alleyways. Other days it's trying to capture moments with people. I don't want to be distracted from that moment, because life is so busy that a lot of times we don't look into ourselves. and we don't spend time with ourselves. You know what I mean? I'm trying to find that, like you said, that solitude moment where there's nobody but me in the viewfinder to capture the moments that I've been looking for.
I've realized like this last 2 months, when I go through something hard, I usually just get on my bicycle and just ride myself in the ground, and like it just disappears. And this time around, I chose to put the bicycle aside and put all of it into my art. It's something I've never done before with, mental health. And it's harder. I go for long, that's why I go out and walk twice a day, because I got to spend some energy, and I go walk my dog too. So like I do like 3 walks a day sometimes. And, but what I'm getting out of it is, well, for one, Strava isn't as busy. So there's not as many rides. No one knows I'm riding a bike or not. But what I'm doing is I'm logging miles in on understanding things more, so I can have more empathy for everything that's around me. It's really easy for me to get triggered by people's nonsense. So more empathy, the better. But it's kind of a double-edged sword, because you eventually see enough, and it trickles all the way up into leadership, and you're just like, well, who's running the show here? Like, I feel like I'm standing here and I'm giving a lot of leniency, and I've put some time in something, and I'm like, why is leadership not addressing this? And so me being anxious, I want them to do it now, and you can't make anyone do anything. Unfortunately, you got to reset and like just keep shooting photos, because there's a million other people trying to make a difference too, to get that one person to respond, and they ain't getting them to budge. So why are you going to get them to budge? So we're all trying to get someone to budge, to participate in the community versus be on a team. And so we just have to believe in each other. And unfortunately, we're moving, at glacial speeds, and we're always going to be moving at glacial speeds in progress as culturally. And I think we forget that just because we got the internet and we can see things and graph things and got AI and all this, still going to move at glacial speeds.
Man, it's been fucking awesome. I love your outlook. Thank you for being open and willing to share.
Thanks for me, Cos.
Oh, dude. I'm hoping this lets people know that they can just come on and tell their story. Tell me what they're going through, and tell me what they're passionate about. For me, it used to be skateboarding, and I gave my life to skateboarding. I gave my body to skateboarding, and I suffer every day because of those decisions. Like I barely move now. My hips are bad. My knees are bad. My ankles are bad. My shoulders are bad. But I still love it. It's if I had to choose one thing in my life to do, I had to give up everything else, I would do anything to feel the freedom of riding a skateboard again.
Mine would be a BMX bike, but my body hurts.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when, you were always, the BMX was always your thing growing up. I like skateboarding, but BMX just felt, it had that feeling that people got from riding a skateboard. So yeah, I just, I liked both though. They were both awesome. Yeah. We had a lot of fun doing both. I remember you had that other guy that lived in your neighborhood who had the big jumps in front of his house.
Oh,
big dirt jumps.
That was Eric Kemp. And then there was a dude, Matt Barnes, that had that quarter pipe in front of his house.
I remember Matt Barnes. Yeah, man, that whole neighborhood. There's so many. There was also the vert ramp. Somebody had a vert ramp in the back of their house, but it was only plied with 3/8 plywood, so you break through it.
Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah. And then there was a couple mini ramps around.
There's a dude named Jim Bowman that had a mini ramp, and I think his had holes in it. I think a lot of them had holes in it.
Yeah. Pacific Northwest weather.
Not like we didn't really seal them or anything like that over the winters. We all got excited in the summertime to build something and completely forgot that we have winter too.
Yeah.
A lot of ramps got destroyed.
Yeah. I went back and I walked through the town, and I was just looking at all the old skate spots that used to be the get together. Everybody went.
Remember, we used to get chased by the Milwaukee police all the time. For skateboarding.
I remember. They had nothing better to do. And they knew our parents. That was the most messed up part. They knew who we were. Like, it's not like you
Yeah.
could hide in our town.
No. It was just, that never made any sense to me, but whatever.
Yeah, there was, so when I went back, there's a store called Made in Milwaukee that's in the old video store in downtown Milwaukee, right next to the corner store. And he was telling me the story of the guy and how he hated skateboarders. And I was like, yeah, I can tell you why he hated skateboarders, because he had that ledge right in front of his window and we would just skateboard it relentlessly. He just hated us. But going back and looking at stuff.
Same as Milwaukee High School.
It's so different now. It's all redone. Like going back.
Milwaukee High School and the Milwaukee Library.
Yep. Oh man. So many fun times. It was a cool place to grow up. It was different. I can tell you, when I moved to Vancouver from Milwaukee, I was in a huge shock of how busy it can actually be in a city. You know,
I couldn't imagine that transition.
It was so quiet where I lived, and I moved to a super busy part of the city, and for probably 2 months I couldn't even sleep because there was cars constant noise. I lived off Lake Road there, where we had farms around us. It was so quiet at night.
There's still farmland around there.
Yeah, I was blown away by the development in the area when I went back, for sure.
Yeah, there was definitely less surface area of strawberry patches and stuff.
Well, it's been awesome, Ben. Let's keep in touch for sure. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Life of Phys Podcast. I hope you've enjoyed our show, and don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us continue to bring you content and the stories of our incredible guests. And remember to stay connected with us on all social media platforms. It's at LIFE_OF_PHYS, or on the internet at www.lifeofphys.com. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great day.